In the book George Washington by Robert Hughes, Chapter 2 is about the Second Battle of Trenton. And I want to go over basics of the battle with you. Nothing terribly in detail, but I'd like to give you an overview of who moved where and what the results of the battle were. This happened on January the 2nd of 1777, but to back up briefly to August of 1776, Sir William Howe and his men had landed on Long Island, and in 4 months, Howe and his men had captured over 4,000 prisoners, and they took a lot of supplies from the Americans. And Hughes said the loss in territory was great also, for Rhode Island was occupied, New York largely free of alarm, New Jersey clear, and Congress in disgraceful flight from Pennsylvania into Maryland. Besides Washington's men, the Americans had troops at various points in New England, New York, Upper New Jersey, and elsewhere, but these were hardly more than recruiting stations. So a lot had been accomplished by Howe and his men in overtaking the Americans. I want to show you all the area where these events happened. Here is Pennsylvania and New York. New Jersey is down here, and here you can see Trenton and Princeton. Lord Cornwallis started to go back to England for a while, thinking he wouldn't be needed, but he was ordered by General Howe to go back to New Jersey to the rescue of General Sir James Grant. Cornwallis moved out of Princeton before dawn, January the 2nd, 1777. James Grant was superseded by Lieutenant Colonel Mawhood, who had 1,200 men in Princeton. The British had less than 8,000 men in New Jersey altogether at that time. Now, heavy rain on New Year's Eve, remember this Second Battle of Trenton was January the 2nd, 1777, so heavy rain on New Year's Eve right before then had made the roads very bad for the infantry and artillery. It was very hard for the men and their supplies to move anywhere. Between Princeton and Trenton, near a place called Maidenhood, was Washington's advance under a general who unfortunately was not very good. He wound up being absent from his post. He was also addicted to drinking. The morning of January the 2nd, the British light infantry and the Hessians, who were the advance party for Cornwallis, came across rebel riflemen near Maidenhood, but not much happened with that. The advance kept on towards Trenton, where Washington was. Washington was on high ground on the southeastern side of the Assunpink Creek. The creek was high and fast with the snow, the melted snow, and Washington waited there by the bridge over the creek for the enemy. I read that there was only one bridge, and he was waiting there for the enemy. Here's a little bit more of the geography of the area. This is the Assunpink Creek. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not, so if anybody knows the correct pronunciation, feel free to pop it in the comments. This here is the Delaware River. So over here is Pennsylvania, and over here on this side is New Jersey. And Washington took a night march on a road to the right of this creek. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, January the 2nd, Washington could see the enemy, 1,500 British and Hessians, taking over the town. So what damage was done? Only 1 American was reported as a casualty and 6 wounded. On the Hessians' side, 11 were wounded, 4 killed. One interesting little story that Robert Hughes shared is that 6 Americans pretended to desert. They waited until a lieutenant came over to them to accept their surrender, and then those 6 pretender deserters shot the lieutenant and ran away. Robert Hughes said robust humorists, those early patriots. For the Hessians, they overtook a chaplain that was fleeing and him almost to pieces with their bayonets and sabers and stripped his body. Next time, we will continue with the discussion about the battle and about Cornwallis and Washington.